Hi, my name is Alana Rea, and I'm the founder and CEO of Être. And this is Season 5 of Être TED Ed. I couldn't be happier to welcome you today. We are thrilled with this virtual show. Over the years, I never cease to be impressed by the breadth and depth of the topics girls bring to this stage, and this year is no exception. From how a glass of clean water can save the world for girls, to how pipelines can encourage Latina girls in STEM opportunities, to the cost of misinformation across social media. The topics you'll hear today will both inspire you and empower you to make needed change. And the girls come from everywhere. We're thrilled this year to welcome girls to Season 5 from Argentina and Guatemala, from Brazil and Pakistan, from India, from the US, and from Zambia. And now to kick us off, please welcome Memory Banda from Zambia.
This is the Être 2025 TED Ed Talk. My name is Memory Banda, and I am from Zambia. A huge and warm welcome to each one of you for making an effort. Depending on the country and time zones you're joining us from globally, we say thank you so much and welcome. To all the girls, our speakers of today, I would like to encourage you to speak and share from your heart. Thank you so much for bringing your big and great ideas to the stage. As Maya Angelou said, there is no greater agony than bearing untold stories inside you. To the girls listening and watching this is a reminder for you to know that you are the future of today and tomorrow. You are the driver of your dreams and story.
Why theater needs people and people need theater. What makes a job complete? Is it the work itself or the people it reaches? Think about it. If a doctor performs surgery, the patient lives, even if there is no audience there to watch it. If an engineer builds a bridge, it stands, even if no one claps. But if an actor performs a play in an empty theater, something is missing. The work is incomplete. That's because theater doesn't exist without people, and people, whether they realize it or not, deeply need theater. Theater is not a solitary act. It's a shared experience meant to be witnessed, lived, and felt together. Unlike many professions, theater only reaches its full meaning when there is an audience. An invisible energy connects performers and spectators. The audience laughs, gasps, claps, or simply sits in silence. And all of it shapes the rhythm and the spirit of the whole performance. As my mentor, theater performer and on-air correspondent Miriam Spritzer reminds me, the presence of the audience can completely transform a show. She has seen it in New York. Even the mood of the crowd changes the way actors give their art. That's how powerful people are in theater. Without an audience, a brilliant performance is like a letter never open. Theater is not just performed, it is completed by the audience. But this change works both ways. People need theater too. Theater holds up a mirror to society. It helps us see who we are, what we feel, and how we relate to others. It gives us glimpses of history, humanity, and our shared dreams. It is also a space for empathy. Watching other people's stories allow us to walk in shoes we may never wear in real life. It softens us, teaches compassion, and reminds us of our shared humanity. And it transforms us. In a world that is rushed, digital, and noisy, theater offers presence. For a couple of hours, you get to escape, reflect, feel, and be moved. Musicals are a perfect example of this. They show life in ways we might not otherwise see. Musicals like Hamilton or Wicked remind us of different sides of humanity, bringing history, identity, and imagination together in a way that connects to audiences across cultures. Theater has changed my life, Miriam's life, and the lives of so many people who step on stage or sit in the audience. For actors, creators, and theater lovers, it becomes more than entertainment. It's a community, a place where we grow, discover, and connect. In that space, we grow confidence, we learn empathy, teamwork, discipline, and the courage to express who we truly are. For me, and for so many others, theater is magical because it doesn't just tell stories, it shapes people. It gives us tools for life, friendship that lasts, and the feeling of belonging to something bigger than ourselves. Miriam also shared how musicals can teach and inspire not just about art, but even about languages and life itself. That's the power of theater. It educates while it entertains, it builds while it heals. At its heart, theater is not just a stage and a script. It is a relationship between the artist and the audience, between one heart and another. It is live, vulnerable, and profoundly human. And that's why this bond matters so much. Theater is fragile without us, and we too lose something vital without it. So let's go back to the analogy I began with. Some jobs can be done in silence. Surgery can save lives, bridges can stand tall, and inventions can work whether or not there is an audience present. But theater cannot work. Without people, theater is an unfinished sentence. But without theater, people lose a vital voice, a spark of humanity, and a place where imagination and empathy meet. So, I invite you to think about it this way. When you're supporting theater, you're not only supporting art, you're supporting humanity itself. And that's why theater needs people, and people need theater.
Let me ask you something simple. If I gave you a plate of just plain white rice, no seasoning, no veggies, nothing, every day, 3 times a day for the rest of your life, would you be excited? Of course not. You want variety, maybe a spicy kimchi one day, maybe a buttery naan the next, a crunchy salad, a juicy mango, maybe even a slice of pizza. Because we crave difference. Our bodies need diversity. And I know what you might be thinking. I know the word diversity can mean a lot of different things to different people. But today, I just mean it in the sense of welcoming variety. So, our bodies need diversity to thrive. But what about our hearts? What if I told you the opposite of love isn't hate? It's fear. Because hate doesn't show up alone. It's fear that knocks first. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of them. Whoever them happens to be today. And the truth is, love can't grow uninvited either. Love needs space to grow, like a garden. You can't grow strawberries in a closet. Love needs space, air, sunlight, and most of all, it needs difference. Think about it. What makes a garden beautiful? It's not a field of just one flower, it's a wild mix of tulips and orchids and lavender and roses, tiny leaves next to giant petals, red, violet, gold, green. If all plants looked the same, we wouldn't call that nature. It would be called a glitch in the system. So why do we forget that when it comes to people? We forget that humanity is supposed to look like a rainforest and not a lawn. Instead, we try to make it neat, controlled, orderly. We build walls, draw borders, and pick sides. Why? Because we're scared. Scared of losing what we're used to, scared that someone else's beauty might dim ours, scared that we'll get left out. So fear grows loud and hate follows close behind. But the truth is, love and fear can't live in the same space. One will grow and one will shrink. You get to choose. My mentor, Ms. Crystal Sorenzi, EVP of Growth Businesses and New Ventures at Hello Sunshine, said something that really resonated with me. She said the thing about bravery is that it feels a lot like fear at the time, because you're in this sense of feeling alone and afraid, and you need to push through into owning your bravery. Leadership can feel very lonely, and you need that bravery to stand strong in that solitude. And I think in the context of building loving communities, this is crucial because choosing openness over fear can feel very uncomfortable, and it takes that courage to welcome difference. Let's go back to food for a second. We celebrate global cuisine now, right? Stuff like California rolls, tacos with Korean barbecue, pizza topped with pineapple? You never say all food should be American, because what even is that? Burgers came from Germany. Ketchup, China. Fries, Belgium. Food doesn't exist in a vacuum. It travels, it blends, it evolves. That's why it excites us. Why do we think people should stay in little boxes? Look the same, love the same, believe the same? If we understand the value of diversity in what we eat, what we wear, what we watch, how can we not see the same thing is true for each other? Now here comes the twist. You might be thinking, oh, I'm not the type of person who loves diversity. Maybe you think this is too idealistic, too political. But I want to show you something. Close your eyes. Really, just for a second. I want you to picture a world where every voice sounds the same. Every song is the same note. Every color is beige. Every day exactly the same. No storms, no surprises, no contrast. How long before that world starts to feel like a cage? Now I want you to open your eyes. See? You already know the truth. You already love diversity. You crave it in your music, in the movies you watch, and in the stories you love. Because deep down, we all just want a world that feels more alive. And aliveness means color and even conflict, but especially conflict that leads to growth and not destruction. Love is like biodiversity. Because it's about everyone mattering, not everyone being the same. So, next time you feel that fear creep in, the thing that tells you to shut other people out, to pull away, to judge, to otherize, I want you to remember what your taste buds and your playlists and your dream vacations already know. You don't just tolerate diversity. You are it. And you need it and you embody it. And the more you love, the more alive this world becomes. Thank you very much.
Born in a community where a good story often comes pre-written. Marriage, reputation, stay small, stay silent. But when I was 8, I dreamed of flying beyond limits, beyond what will people say, beyond the boxes built to contain me. That dream wasn't loud. It was a quiet rebellion. I whisper no to a world that clips wings before they ever open. And here's what I have learned. Your mindset decides whether the spark you were born with dies. or burns bright enough to light the way for others. Only 6% of people ever reach their personal aspirations, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they stop believing they can. They shrink to fit expectation. They trade their why for what's safe. They live lives technically alive but spiritually absent. But the truth is, the world doesn't need more copies. It needs original. It needs you, unapologetic, unreduced, unrepeatable. I know what it feels like to disappear. High school was ritual. 6 hours of day of whispers and judgment. I cried in bathroom stalls at 12, wondering if I was broken for wanting more than good enough. One night, staring at my reflection, eyes swollen from tears, something in me snapped. This cannot be all I am. My family had given me strength, love, and belief. They planted power in me. And I thought maybe the universe is whispering, your energy is too big. And you're not supposed to fit in here. So I stopped trying to fit in. I stopped asking for permission to exist. And I choose to bet on my mindset instead of their approval. That choice changed every single thing in my whole life. I applied for the Legacy Project's Global Change Ambassador program. Too young, too unqualified, too much. I applied anyway, not because I was fearless, but because I was done letting fear choose for me. And when I got in, I realized something that would shape the rest of my life. The first yes you need is your own. The rest will follow. 2 years later, I founded what became the Teen Brand Ambassador Program, a platform to give teens a stage when the world tries to silence them. I watched those teens do 3 things over and over again, accept where they are, change what they must, and expand beyond what they thought was possible. Every single time when they dared to grow, the world in its own way gave back. One of my mentors, Kate Kelly, an award-winning storyteller and social impact leader at Shine Global, showed me what this looks like. Early in her career, she was asked to help launch the world premiere of her major show in Times Square. Most people pictured a billboard. She pictured a castle. Everyone told her it was impossible, too ambitious, unrealistic, but she trusted her vision. With her team, she transformed an ordinary hotel into something extraordinary. Trapped in fabric, rising where none had been, a building in the middle of Manhattan turned into a castle. When I asked her how she did it, she said, there were many times when every stage of my life was met with doubt. People told me things couldn't be done, but if you believe in something with your whole heart and soul, you have to listen to that voice. Even if you fail, at least you tried. Other people's expectations don't define your limits. Your imagination and persistence do. And she was right. Science proves it. Our brains literally revile every time we dare to see differently. 2 people face the same obstacle. One sees a dead end. The other sees a detour to something better. Which one changes the world? For me, it comes down to 3 words. Perceive, believe, act. Perceive. Refuse to see the world only as it is. See what it could be. Second, believe. Not in perfection, not in certainty, but that you matter enough to try. And third, act. Especially when you are scared. Because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's emotion, it's spite of it. And now I'm building paths so others can run. Because a mind that dares to grow can never have its wing clipped. And if I can rise, you can too. And when we both rise together, we just don't move forward. We take the world with us. Call me Nitya, call us Nitya. Internal by name, internal by purpose. Metonic mindset is the key to a meaningful life. Thank you.
When I think of my bucket list, I don't think about specific adventures like skydiving, paragliding, or bungee jumping. My bucket list is the globe itself. New cities, new countries, new continents. I realized this when I traveled to Europe in the summer of 2024 with my mom. Sure, we saw big cities like Vienna and Budapest. But what stuck with me the most was my ability to put my phone down and quickly get lost in the charm and beauty of my surroundings. Being able to sit in a train and watch the European countryside go by, stumbling upon the most charming boutiques, and learning about the way of life in different places all reminded me that our world is so vast and so unique in every corner. I found myself asking questions. How old is that building? What is the history behind the mural right across the street? How did that cooking technique originate? That trip taught me a crucial lesson. Travel is about the questions we find ourselves asking. For young people, curiosity is a superpower we all possess. Curiosity allows us to see the world with fresh eyes. We wonder why things are the way they are, why places differ so significantly from one another, and why people develop such distinct ways of thinking. But in the 21st century, it's easy to forget that. Today, our generation is the most disconnected it has ever been. Ironically, it's also the most connected it's ever been. According to the American Psychological Association, the average teenager spends almost 5 hours a day on social media platforms. We constantly measure our lives in terms of likes, comments, and shares, check our cell phone notifications all the time, and post curated highlights of our lives for others to see. We turn a blind eye to the real world and real experiences, experiencing our own lives through a filter. And when we do that, we stop asking questions about the world around us. Curiosity is the force that breaks that cycle, and travel fuels curiosity in a way like none other. In a new place, it's impossible to stay in our bubbles. We are pushed to interact with new surroundings, to look around, to wonder, and to notice differences. Now, the classroom can give us knowledge, but it can't teach us what travel can. It can't teach us real-world learning, global understanding of our surrounding, and the independence and freedom that travel embodies. Travel allows us to directly engage with unique cultures and perspectives that a textbook simply cannot bring to life. My incredible mentor for this talk, Kirsten Kluth, a producer and writer, is a seasoned traveler herself. According to her, the most underrated benefit of travel that young adults often overlook is the ability to move out of our comfort zones. She believes that travel is about learning to be present in the new place you're adventuring and paying attention to the rituals and life of the place around you. And that is what makes travel so transformative in her eyes. And that is exactly why I believe that travel is especially important for young adults and teenagers. We are in the stages of our lives where we are trying to figure out who we want to be and how we want to live. Travel shapes that process, building independence, resilience, and adaptation. And more importantly, it teaches us how to live a life beyond our feeds. Travel reminds us that identity isn't fixed. Rather, our identities are shaped by the experiences that we have, the people we meet, the new cultures that we engage with, the global understanding we develop, and the many questions that we explore. So my call to you is this: let curiosity guide you. Take time away from that social media feed. Release yourself from the bubble. Wonder. Really wonder. Because the real experience of traveling isn't just seeing a new place. It's a new perspective, ways of life, and new cultures. So the globe is my bucket list, and it could be yours too.
I want to be Barbie. Not like big chest, big butt, skinny little waist Barbie. I want to be the Barbie who does everything. I want to be the girl who becomes an author, a doctor, a TED speaker, a paramedic, an artist, a fashion designer, and a mom. The one who achieves all these amazing things. I find it phenomenal that people have the options to do all of these jobs. However, it is very rare that these opportunities are taken advantage of. I'm the oldest of 3 girls. I will probably be the Barbie of the 3 of us. The one who takes on everything and tries everything purely because I want to and I can, for no other reason. My mom is the first female in my family to get a bachelor's and master's degree. So, why not one-up her and be the first in my family to get a doctorate degree? I have so many opportunities to do so soon, especially since I'm now entering my senior year of high school. How do I plan on doing this? I don't know. Right now I want to get a doctorate in nursing. In 2 years, I could abandon that plan and try to become the chief paramedic of my state. But that's okay, because I have so many options open for me as long as I'm willing to work for it. This idea of taking new opportunities is what made Barbie so special. She didn't look at this and think, whoa, that looks really cool, but I'll have to leave it to men. She acted on it and tried. She did this during times when women were heavily discouraged from taking opportunities, and sometimes still are. 66 years ago, on March 9th, 1959, Barbie was introduced. When Barbie was introduced, she had the body type that girls were told to conform to. An anatomically impossible body type that is still expected of women, but this body type makes sense when you find out that Barbie is based on a sex doll out of Germany and a couple of paper dolls made by Ruth Handler's daughter. Ruth Handler is the designer and creator of Barbie. Then, in 1965, Barbie became an astronaut. An astronaut. She went to space and landed on the moon 4 years before Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong did. This was mind-blowing because it seemed impossible for a man to go to space, let alone a female doll that was breaking social norms. That could never happen, right? In 1973, Barbie became a surgeon, a field that was then dominated by men, with less than 2% of surgeons being women. According to the American Medical Association, less than 16% of medical school students in the 1970s were female. Let's jump forward 16 years to the year 1989. Barbie became a pilot that year. Less than 6% of pilots at this point were female. This would be a game-changing opportunity that Barbie and so many other women take. Let's skip forward now a few decades to 2011. In 2011, Barbie became a firefighter. Okay, what's the point? It's normal to be a firefighter. Well, it isn't. Even in 2020, less than 9% of firefighters are female, according to Women in Fire. This seems so normalized with all the new TV shows and movies, but in reality, it's not. There's such a big gap. In 2019, Barbie entered another male-dominated field, becoming a wildlife conservationist. Less than 10% of the people in this field are women, a field that is so vital to our future. Barbie couldn't do everything on her own though. She has a powerful team behind her at Mattel. Mattel's main goal with Barbie is to make sure she represents the unlimited potential of every girl. When I got to speak to Mattel's global head of dolls, Krista Berger, she was able to tell me how they use Barbie to inspire confidence, empowerment, and to spark an imagination in every girl. Over the years, Barbie has evolved, not just with her careers, but with the campaigns Mattel has created. In 1980, Mattel had launched a campaign to create a whole line of diverse dolls carrying Barbie's name. In 1985, Barbie had a new campaign created under her called We Girls Can Do Anything. This would be the start of just as many astonishing jobs as Barbie becoming an astronaut to come. In 2016, Barbie launched a whole new set of dolls that had multiple different body types, so now there was more than just the Barbie with a stereotypical body type. In 2022, Barbie became eco-friendly. There was a Jane Goodall doll created for all the nature-loving girls who were hoping to make just as big of an impact as Jane Goodall did. In 2023, a Barbie with Down syndrome made her debut. Barbie has been evolving before our eyes, not just to be a girl we recognize as a toy, but also to be a girl that we recognize that to inspire us, even the ones with differences beneath the surface. Barbie takes opportunities and inspires girls to be in every field, not just the ones that prove that girls can be just as good as men, if not better, but also the fields that are vital to the future of humanity. I may not be able to make just as big of an impact as Barbie. She has decades on me, but I can remind you of her message. She took opportunities to make room for us. Now, it's time for us to take opportunities, and remember, it's okay to take more than one opportunity or more than one step in two different directions, because Barbie did too. Thank you.
Thank you, Madison. And now, from Barbie Inspo to engineering our futures, welcome to Act 2. Please welcome Fatima from Guatemala.
Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a girl in a small town in Latin America. She loves building things, robots, bridges, anything that moves. She dreams of becoming an engineer, but she has never met anyone who looks like her in that field. Now open your eyes. That girl? She was me. Hi, my name is Daniela Reyes, and I am a mechatronics engineering student from Guatemala. Today, I want to talk about how mentorship can shape the future of Latina girls in STEAM and why we need more of it. Let's start with a question. Why are there still so few Latina women in science, technology, engineering, and math? Latina women remain one of the most underrepresented groups in STEAM. In the United States, we make up almost 17% of the workforce, but only 8% of STEAM jobs. And when you look at those with degrees, the number is even smaller. Only about 4% of STEAM bachelor's degrees go to Hispanic women. And what happens in Latin America? About 41% of STEAM graduates are women, which sounds promising, but very few of them actually stayed in STEAM careers. In the ICT sector, only 3 out of 10 employees are women. Globally, women hold just 28% of jobs in science and engineering, while they make up over 70% of the workforce in care and health-related fields. Cultural and social factors such as lack of female role models, gender stereotypes, family expectations, and declining interest in STEAM during adolescence limit participation. In the workplace, work-life incompatibility, discrimination in male-dominated environments, and even harassment limit these opportunities. STEAM fields are among the fastest growing and best paid, but female talent remains underutilized, holding back the region's economic potential. Increasing women's access to STEAM education and jobs could boost productivity, wages, and regional development. It's not about lack of talent, it's about lack of access. Access to role models, to safe spaces, and to someone who says, you belong here. And when you never see someone like you in those spaces, it's easy to believe you don't fit in there. Now I want to talk about my personal journey. Since I was little, I always loved playing with Legos. Creating something incredible from tiny pieces was my greatest source of joy. Then I discovered space and robotics, and that's when I realized what I wanted to do with my life. But there was a problem. In every photo, every lunch, every competition I saw, there were only men. I couldn't understand why so many women I knew weren't interested in what fascinated me. It made me feel lost. When I started studying mechatronics engineering, I was both thrilled and terrified. Most of my classmates didn't look like me. I remember sitting in my first class thinking, am I good enough? What if I fail? Maybe this isn't for me. I felt like an outsider in my own dream. And then something shifts. I found a community, a group of Latin American women in STEAM who believed in me before I believed in myself. They didn't just share knowledge, they shared courage. They remind me that my background wasn't a weakness, it was my strength. That is the value of mentorship. Research shows that programs that pair Latina girls with mentors show dramatic changes. Their confidence and leadership grows, and most importantly, the words, I can do this, becomes real. That's the power of mentorship. It turns I wish I could into I know I can. Now I want to talk about belonging. Belonging is essential, and when you find a space where you belong, everything changes. I stopped trying to shrink myself to fit in, and I started showing up, and I realized something powerful. STEAM isn't just about equations or robots or circuits. It's about people, about building together. Now I want to share something that my own mentor, Terry Riley from Red Wire Space, with whom I had the honor of communicating in order to give this talk, told me. She wanted to share with all young Latina women, and I quote, that in a world that is constantly noisy, often bushy, sometimes pausing and listening is louder. In that pause, we find clarity, and in those quiet moments, we can choose words and actions that carry more weight, more grace, and more strength. To find leaders who build you up, help foster those strengths, and create a space for your voice to be heard. So many of you are probably wondering, what can we do? Well, if you're in STEAM, be visible. Be that mentor you wish you had. If you're a student, find your people. Don't wait for permission to take up space. And if you're an educator or a leader, open doors. Make sure no girl has to fight to belong in a space that should have been hers all along. Because when we support Latina girls, we don't just unlock their potential. We're engineering a more inclusive, brilliant future for all.
Hi there, I'm Mariam. I'm a high school graduate. I'm someone who is really passionate about giving back to community. That's why I started working on one of the most addressing issues we face, clean and safe drinking water. If I handed you a glass of water, would you think twice before drinking it? Probably no. But for millions of children around the world, a glass of water isn't just water. It can be the reason they survive or the reason they don't. For me, this issue isn't just statistics, it's deeply personal. A few years back, one of my cousins died because he drank contaminated water. He was young, full of life, and after a few days, he was gone. That pain is something my family and I will never forget. And it made me realize that something that we take for granted, like clean and safe water, can literally mean a difference between life and death. Every single day, more than 700 children die due to diseases related to unsafe water and poor sanitation. 700 children. That's like losing an entire school every single day. And here's the part that made me really angry. This isn't a problem without a solution. We exactly know how to fix it. We just have not acted fast enough. That's why I started EcoRise, a youth-led initiative working to make low-cost life straws water cylinder. It does not require any expensive tool or material. Just a simple way to convert contaminated water into safe drinking water. And these filters do not require any electricity or expensive part. Moreover, we go beyond filters. We talk to families about hygiene and water conservation because clean water isn't just about what we drink. It's also about how we protect it. You might think this is a problem of somewhere else, but water connects everything. Education, healthcare, equality, and even peace. Give a child a clean water and you give them the chance to dream bigger, time to go to school, and the strength to play. And here is my challenge to you. The next time when you pour a glass of water for yourself, just wait for 2 seconds and ask yourself, what can you do to bring water to the child who's waiting for it? And remember every single child who is dying and waiting for clean water. Thank you.
So in May 9th this year, I participated in a piano concert as a soloist for the first time in 6 years. I played the piano since I was 12 years old, and the piece I played, I've known it since I was 17. So one would think I wouldn't be that scared, right? I was terrified. From my shaky hands over the keys to my shaking leg and foot holding the pedal, I was freaking out. I guess the first thing you get to know about me then is that I have stage fright. After the concert, I started to wonder, why am I feeling that way? Why did I feel that way while being up there? It's not like it was my first concert, and yeah, it had been a while since I had last performed, but I had practiced a lot. I knew I had prepared for it. I knew deep down that I was ready, but why was I so scared of it? I started to think that maybe it wasn't only about being up there in the stage, not exactly about having the audience, but about facing the unknown, about not always really knowing what was going to happen while being up there, about being aware of the fact that I couldn't always have it completely planned. And so I realized that, well, that sort of fear does not only appear to me on literal stages, but sometimes every day. I get stage fright even when I just have to present in front of my class. I used to get nervous even while walking in the hallways as a high school girl, while not being entirely sure of my place in the world. And so I realized that I had to do something to work on it. A lot of people have told me multiple times that it's also about remembering your little self, remembering yourself as a kid when you thought you could do anything. And so when I go back to that little girl, I remember she still loves Beauty and the Beast, how she watched Belle be unapologetically herself despite what anyone else ever said and fulfilling her purpose. And well, guess what? I'm not the only one who thinks that going back to that, it's a great idea, because my mentor, the incredible Shruti Mathur, shared with me that, as you may know, she's a UN president in Los Angeles, which means that stages are something she has to constantly deal with. Yet she shared with me that she also gets a little bit nervous sometimes. And when I asked her which Disney princess she could relate to, both as a kid and even in adulthood, she told me that it was Ariel from The Little Mermaid. At first, I was really surprised because we didn't really get to know Ariel from her words. She doesn't really say much, so I was like, why? Then she told me that the deal with Ariel is that we get to know her with her presence. Because of her presence, she doesn't speak that much, yet we get to know how she is, what she wants, and what is she going to do about it. Then she told me that life is not always about the words we have. It's not only about what we say. It's also about what we don't say, how we present ourselves. It's about presence. And so she also shared with me that it's about showing yourself confident. Life is about confidence after all. Even though we might not always feel so sure of ourselves, sometimes it's about faking it until we make it, yeah, but it's always about how we present ourselves, how we somehow show our beliefs, our values, just by walking into our room, just by showing how sure of ourselves we are. And another way to never forget how we've got a purpose, about never forgetting our ideas, our beliefs, is definitely not forgetting that there's people out there who care for us, people we care about, who have supported us, who have been there for us always. And while talking about this with Shruti, she shared an anecdote with me, not only about her presence at multiple stages, but also about how remembering her family helped her a lot. She shared with me that she had to present a poem in French for Ocean Day, and while being up there at the stage, she remembered that the words for mother and ocean in French are pronounced really similarly, almost the same, and she was back then actually pregnant with one of her children. And so while being at the stage, she realized that she wasn't alone. Her child was there with her. And her anecdote took me back to my first scholarship acceptance speech, when I was at the stage, terrified, as you might imagine. Yet while being up there, I reminded myself that I didn't know when I was going to be there again, so I might as well enjoy it while I could, which definitely helped me a lot with my fear. And also, looking down at my parents, first row, always being there for me, supporting me whenever they could, I realized that, yeah, definitely, I wasn't alone. And that also went with what Shruti shared with me, that it's also about remembering our loved ones, the people that have supported us all time, and being aware of all these things is what actually helps us to stand up on a stage, to stop being afraid, because all these experiences are what help us to actually get out in the world, to share who we are with everybody. It's not always about the words, it's also about sharing the story without actually saying it. And I guess that's the secrecy behind the stage of being a princess.
Scrolling through your social media feed, have you ever stopped and wondered, wait, is that even true? Chances are you've come across this information at least once. Today, we'll dive deeper into the consequences of fake news, focusing on how that impacts Latin American countries, where misinformation isn't just an online nuisance, but a force shaping politics, society, and even democracy itself. But first, let's define fake news. Fake news is designed to look and feel like real journalism. Same headlines, same logos, same urgency. The difference is it's intentionally false. News fraudsters imitate conventional media, supplanting its identity, creating websites with the appearance of reliable media, to such an extent that news are reproduced and quoted all over the world, making it difficult even to trace the initial issuer of the fake news. And nowadays, with AI, this scenario has become even worse. One important detail here is that, as Peter Dale Scott said, disinformation in order to be effective must be 90% true. And that's why this is so harmful. Now, to truly understand the impacts of disinformation in Latin America, let's take a look at public opinion formation throughout time. So traditionally, public opinion was formed through a combination of word of mouth and traditional media, such as newspapers, radio, television. So not everyone had access to information, but things are different now. 3 global shifts have altered the rules of the game regarding public opinion formation. 1. Social media. So with the rise of social media, everyone started to have access to information. People who couldn't reach information now would have access to it anytime, anywhere. In the case of Honduras, for example, one of the poorest countries of the continent, more than 80% of the population gets the information from Facebook or WhatsApp. Number 2 is social media algorithms. So algorithm from social media filters only information to people with whom they previously agreed, causing them to reinforce their opinions without considering new ideas, producing what is called confirmation bias, leading people to, for example, form extreme opinions. And last but not least, we have the uncontrolled growth of fake news. News no longer originates exclusively from news outlets. Anyone can post something that becomes news. People often deliberately post fake news, and in the vast majority of the cases, news consumers believe almost everything they see or read on social media. Now, zooming in, you can see the impacts of disinformation everywhere in Latin America. In Brazil, 85% of people worry about distinguishing real from fake online. And the same study conducted by Avaz in the US, Italy, and Brazil revealed that Brazilians are the most inclined to believe fake news. Moreover, the study from Digital Iceberg reveals that 70% of Latin Americans do not know how to detect or are not sure how to recognize fake news on the internet. They also revealed that 79% of Peruvians struggle to identify fake news, 73% of Colombians, 70% of Chileans, and around 60% of Argentines, Mexicans, and Brazilians. Even worse, almost half of Latin Americans rarely question the content they consume. This is a glimpse of the magnitude of the problem that the individual faces with the information they access. There is an inability to differentiate truth from lies, especially in the case of an elaborate design of fake news and its discrimination through echo chambers that cause people to receive selective information, congruent with their own views, excluding other points of view, realities, hindering the formation of their critical thinking, straightening even more those beliefs, likes or dislikes that they have about someone. A tendency that psychologist Daniel Kahneman has called the halo effect, or exaggerated emotional coherence. It affects real politics. In Colombia, fake news shaped narratives around elections, anti-corruption votes, and even the peace agreement referendum. In Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro's campaign was fueled by massive misinformation networks. In just 3 WhatsApp groups, journalists found over 1,000 fake messages a day. And despite the initiative to disclose fake news, such messages spread so quickly that it is exceedingly difficult to combat the phenomenon adequately. These events are a clear example of two problems affecting Latin American democratic systems. One is a massive manipulation of people through disinformation and fake news, and on the other hand, we also have the enormous distrust towards Latin American rulers. The above are just some cases that demonstrate how fake news have played a vital role in certain scenarios. So, what happens when fake news takes over? 1. Political disengagement. People lose interest or faith in participating when the rules of the game feel rigged. 2. Loss of trust in institutions. As Professor Andrew Hall warns, when citizens believe democracy itself is broken, they stop accepting its outcomes. And last but not least, we have a weaker media literacy. Echo chambers limit exposure to diverse perspectives. While you trust of information that appears to you, or just keep reading from the same source, you become an easy victim of political manipulation. Step by step, misinformation erodes the foundation of civic life. But at the end of the day, how can we fight back? How to deal with fake news in such a polarized scenario? 1. Fact-check tools. Newspapers are already integrating this on their websites, and Latin American countries have been developing fact-check mechanisms to improve misinformation identification. 2. Incentives for media literacy. Raising awareness about misinformation, fake news, and its consequences is essential to make people understand the urgency of the problem. And last but not least, get information from different sources. Never trust the first information source you were introduced to. Make sure to search for other accounts and newspapers you follow. Secondly, always double-check information before sharing it. Fake news isn't just about misleading headlines. It's about reshaping societies, solving division, and undermining democracy. So the next time you scroll past a story that feels like a little too perfect, remember, you hold the choice to question, to verify. Because in the fight against misinformation, critical thinking might just be our strongest defense.
Has anyone ever told you that your dreams or goals weren't realistic? Well, since I was little, I've always been energetic, curious, and full of dreams. But as I entered through my teenage years, I began to notice a few problems around me. Problems that I couldn't ignore, such as limited youth participation, poor access to quality education, and social inequalities. That's when I realized that I wanted to do something about it. But most people told me that I couldn't get far because I was too young or I didn't come from a wealthy family. Hi, I'm Millie and I grew up in Salta, a city in northern Argentina, and today I wanted to share with you the key I found to overcome obstacles and to stay true to your purpose no matter where you come from. My life was never full of big privileges or resources, but my dreams were always big. Even at my school, I was often the one left out or the chosen last for teams or not included in groups. Still, I never let that define me. I started looking for ways to change my situation, to find alternatives, and I used free online tools to learn new things. That's how I improved my English and learned more than 3 languages without paying expensive tutors or institutes and putting financial pressure to my parents. Through this persistence, I got involved in a lot of youth organizations, community projects, or leadership programs, most of them for free or receiving scholarships. One of them was the Yale International Relations Leadership Institute, a summer program that gave me the chance to travel to the United States for the first time, visit the United Nations headquarters in New York, and live and study for a week at Yale University, together with other 50 amazing students from around the world. That experience changed my life. It showed me that when passion meets opportunity, background doesn't matter. Today, many young people underestimate their potential. They compare to others on social media, they feel limited by the kind of education they receive or by what adults tell them is realistic. At the same time, many adults, parents, teachers, or mentors end up, without realizing it, sometimes dimming that spark of curiosity and courage. They tell us to lower our expectations or dream smaller. But I believe that from those unrealistic dreams, the best ideas and biggest changes are born. Having a free spirit to question, to explore, and not settle for what's simply presented to me has helped me to overcome challenges and to create opportunities that once seemed impossible. And I didn't do it alone. My parents' support, the openness of my teachers and school directors, and the encouragement of people who believed in me, all of that contributed and helped me to go farther than I could have ever imagined. So if you're a student or young person watching this, don't wait until you have all your life figured out or until you graduate to start chasing for opportunities. Look for free courses, scholarships, and volunteer projects. Go beyond your city and beyond your comfort zone. You don't need all to begin. What matters the most is that you believe yourself enough to try. Believe in yourself and be the protagonist of your life. And if you're a parent, teacher, or a person that works with young people, do not limit their goals. Encourage them to believe in themselves, to be themselves, and to nurture that spark that they were born with. Because when generations listen to each other, when there is trust, support, and dialogue, something powerful happens. More ideas are born, more potential is unlocked, and more people feel aligned with their goals. That's how we can build a better and more generous future. Thank you.
Thank you, Milagros, and all the global girls who shared their big ideas in 2025. From Argentina to Zambia, we couldn't be prouder of these future leaders and to call you TED-Ed speakers. Get ready to be inspired all over again as you join us for Season 6 in 2026.